Yes, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are watching around the world. Football's 12th man's back. We're going to do a bit of a preview for what is going to be the last weekend of the season. Is there going to be a final twist or turn? For my sake, I hope that there is, but I am not very hopeful. Manchester City are so good. West Ham are so bad. Arsenal have to do their job first against Everton. We're going to talk a little bit about what that means to both clubs. Going to talk a little bit about Pep. Going to talk a little bit about Arteta. And of course, we're going to go into what is going to be a couple other clubs mentioned on this stream. Roms and Dan United are going to be with us, but they're going to be a little bit late because they're back due in from work. But big up to Dan, Chelsea fan. Thiago Silva in the background. That's like a fitting end to a season of, well, let's be real, a player who is phenomenal in relation to what a career that he has had. But how are you, mate?
Yeah, all good. I'm glad to be here. Obviously, first time on the show. Absolute pleasure. Chelsea fan. I feel like my opinions are pretty sensible, but people are going to disagree. So let me know your thoughts in the comments and smash some likes on the stream.
Come on, man. Big up. You're always welcome. You know that. And welcome to the debut. Martin, back on the channel, bruv. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Hopefully, good weekend coming up.
For your sake, you hope that it is. Listen, I have to say, I do think that it's going to be a good weekend for Manchester City. I do feel, if I'm honest, like I've accepted that anything's a bonus now. If the unthinkable was to happen, you got to have that bit of hope and belief. That's all you can have. So all we've got to do is our job and then just see what happens. I think it could be potentially fairly exciting if it was to go to a stage of West Ham getting a goal, or maybe even Everton getting a goal for your sake, whoever it be. I think you've always got that potential for the last day, man. So I'm glad that we've taken it to the last day, but I do feel like Man City are going to take their, what is it, sixth title for Pep Guardiola, fourth in a row. It's just ridiculous, man. Let's be honest. Absolutely scary. But hopefully he's not here for long. We're going to come back to that in a minute. Let's talk first of all and get your opinion, Dan, because you're the neutral in this situation. I imagine being a Chelsea fan, you're more than happy to see Manchester City win the league, but I could be wrong. But what have you made of both these sides from a Chelsea point of view, from a neutral point of view this season? And how impressed have you been that Arsenal have been able to take them all the way?
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Arsenal, to be fair. I actually backed Arsenal beginning of the season. I thought they'd probably learn from last year's mistakes and put all their eggs in one basket and really try and win it. Obviously, it hasn't quite gone to plan, but you can't get much closer. I mean, your form, obviously, this year pretty much has been absolutely faultless, bar, two games, I'd say, maybe not getting a win at Man City, even though that was a good point at the time, looked really good. I think actually now, when you look at it, that City team might have been there for the taking. Obviously, the Villa game, and before Christmas, look, there was a couple of games as well, but Arsenal have been solid the whole way through. I think Arteta, look, if he doesn't win, he's learnt an awful lot more this year as well. And adding those two into next season, you're going to be really, really strong. Look, you could still win it this season as well. But yeah, Pep Guardiola is an exceptional manager, almost untouchable, I feel like, at this moment in time. I don't know how anyone can catch him. But the fact of the matter is that they could also still go trophyless, which would be absolutely incredible if that happened. So yeah, I think it's been an exciting title race. I'm glad it's got to the end of the season because I don't want to see one team running away with the Premier League, whoever that is. I like it to be entertaining. If I'm going to be a neutral and I'm not involved, I want it down to the wire, put it that way. So yeah, fantastic title race, that's for sure. And I feel like this Arsenal side are just getting better and better every season. The fact that people are discussing Arteta out and things like that, for me, is far too soon. What he's doing is better than any other manager in the league, bar Pep Guardiola.
Fair play, man. Before I come to Martin, Roms, big up to yourself, my bro. Thanks for coming on, mate. Always a pleasure speaking to you. Bro, I'm gonna speak to you for a couple of minutes now. I need some help. I need some advice. What is this like going to the last day with this Man City side? I believe they're gonna win it. Don't get me wrong, but I've just spoken to Drifty on Saeed's channel, and he's filling me with some hope and some dreams. He did say they can come shattering down because you're in the position a couple of years ago where you were like, "What Villa are doing? What against City?" And then obviously it all went wrong. But what is this last day like, my bro? You know what it's like. Talk to me.
I'm gonna be quite the opposite to Drifty. There's no hope. I know you get the cliche stuff. You never know what happens in football. Anything can happen, which is true to an extent. But when you're up against this City side, they're a juggernaut. The minute they smell an ounce of blood, that's it. I've felt it the last two title races. We've not won a title race with them. The year we won it wasn't a title race. We had won it by Christmas. You know what I mean? The 2 title races we've been with them, they're just relentless. They're just relentless. I tried to. Do you know what? Yeah, some people might say Liverpool fans are salty because Arsenal have replaced us, whatnot. If you want to go with that narrative, cool. But we've also been there. So when we were trying to tell Arsenal fans, look, it will be tough. And the things with City, because I spoke to big up Martin, by the way, I see a lot of your stuff, big up. But with the City fans I speak to, that LB, Dapson, etc., it must be nice feeling about your club like this. They were even saying, if it gets to Christmas and we're even 10 points behind, we're still relaxed. Because you never get the best City until about January onwards. Even in title races with us, we tend to be ahead of them by Christmas time and then just click into gear. They just click into gear, some click. So I was saying to us fans, look, you're going to have to be near perfect. So, you know, the day we both dropped points, I think we dropped points to Palace and you dropped points to Villa. I said going into both them games, both of us have to win the rest of our games because City will. I said, and I was getting told, oh, you never know, City could drop points. I was going through their fixtures and I was like, they're not going to drop points. And I don't know if Martin will agree. And I know it might sound alien to say, and I know they're the treble-winning team, but I don't even think this is the best City team. I genuinely don't think this is the best City team. And it sounds mad to say because they're off the back of a treble, but I think they're 18, 19 one, and the ones we were up against were better than this side, but they just have that know-how. And I'll be honest, Dan, like, again, you can cling on to the cliche sayings, but I just think it's done. I listened to a bit of what Dan was saying. Look, I'll troll Arsenal fans. We're football fans. We're tribal at the end of the day. But so I think you're on the cusp of something great. I genuinely do. I was one of them fans that were saying, maybe this could be Arteta's last season because how much more money do you spend? How many times do you try? But I think he warrants one more year. I think at the end of next season, you probably would have spent north of 750 million at that point, and he hasn't delivered any of the big two. Because I even think at this stage, an FA Cup or Carabao wouldn't supplement your season. I think your squad is ready for one of the big two. I think end of next season you can ask questions, but even I've had to come back down to earth. Like, you know what? They've brought it to the final day against City. One more push. If he doesn't do it next year, then you can ask questions. But I knew City would win this league 6-7 games ago. The minute you lost to Villa, I said it's City's league. I know what they're like at this stage, man.
Bro, I was there. I left the Emirates. I said, we've just lost the league, and so have Liverpool. And everyone said, oh, this is a negative thing to say. It's so toxic. You've given up. The white flag's gone out. You're a bottle job of a fan base. And I'm like, whoa, we're against Man City here. We ain't up against Manchester United of this side or Chelsea or Liverpool. Anybody else, throw any name at me, and I would have said, do you know what? Disappointing, but I still think points will be dropped. And it would have been right because Liverpool dropped points. If we were up against New Roms, I'd have been fine. But I knew what we were up against, bro. And I said to LB, when we left the Etihad, you will not lose another game. You will win them all. I said to Arsenal, have got to go and win them all if they want to win the league. And we lost
do you know what it is, bro? Balanced Arsenal fans out yourself probably weren't saying this. But some of the deluded ones, when we were in title race with City, they were saying, oh, you don't get anything from second. Oh, look, you've bottled it again. Now you want to say what we've been saying a couple of years ago. I find it, not you personally, because I know you're probably not like that. You probably gave us credit for taking them to the last day. But it's like, hold on, you're now saying what we were saying years ago, and you were goading us for it. But yeah, it's crazy. And I feel like this is why when I hear United and Chelsea fans trying to speak to us about title race with City, you've not been there. You don't know how it feels. Now you're finally feeling how it feels against the City team. But I think you're right. I think Liverpool and Arsenal lost the league on the same day. You lot have made it respectable, though. Our season's just gone to tatters, honestly. But at least you've taken it to the final day. And yeah, you've got a foundation to build off next season. I genuinely think you're a couple signings away from potentially do it. But Pep's still there, and City are only going to strengthen as well. So
yeah,
next season will be really interesting. Really interesting.
It will, man. It will. Martin, I want to throw two things at you. One, how do you see the weekend going? I think I know, but I'll ask you that question so everyone can hear it. And I want to mention this comment here because we keep getting this Farmers League. We just mentioned it on Saeed's channel, actually, because it keeps being spoke, man. So bring that in after what you think is going to happen this weekend, bro. Go on, over to you, man.
Do I think it's a foregone formality? No. I actually think both teams have got tricky games. if I'm honest with you. I have seen that it's a weird one with City because we could easily go out and smash them 4 and 5-0. We could do the total opposite and do what we always do on the last day and make it a little bit more difficult for ourselves. It will all come down to that first 30 minutes, mate. That first 30 minutes. If City score early, it's probably gonna be game over. If we're stuck at 0-0 and you're 1 up, stadium gets a bit edgy, things get a bit edgy. You don't know. It's so final days are really weird. They are very, very weird days. We had it with Liverpool with that Villa game. It was because we Villa were getting beat, but then the news was coming through that Wolves were then beating Liverpool, and we were like, all right, well, okay, so we're all right at the minute. Then it switches because at that time, you'll remember this, Roms, Liverpool were battering Wolves left, right, and centre, but when Wolves had a really good couple of chances where they could have actually put the game to bed, but they didn't. And then it took Liverpool to like the really late on in the game to get the breakthrough.
Martin, I was at the game. We didn't go ahead until the 84th
That's
minute.
what I mean. It was really edgy. But everyone was going in saying Liverpool were going to smash Wolves to bits. And it was the complete opposite for the first 60 minutes. And then Villa had gone 2-0 up, and last days do crazy things. But if City turn up, I do think we'll win. This is a bit different. West Ham are literally 9th. They can't budge from 9th, win, lose, or draw. It's Moyes' last game. West Ham is not the ideal opponent, really, for you coming into this situation. Could have done with someone, who could have gone up 2 or 3 places or fighting for a Europa spot, etc. Everton, again, is not a foregone conclusion because Everton are actually one of the 4 informed teams in the league. Second or third best, least amount of goals conceded. They've won 4 out of the last 5, drawn 1, won 4. So you don't know. There could be twists and turns, but I'm confident. I do think we'll get the win.
It's interesting because I saw a couple of things today, Dan, about West Ham. Kudus has come out last night and said, I'm going to do it for my boy Partey. Bowen has apparently spoken to Rice and said, we're going to try what we can, mate, for you. A couple of the other West Ham players have apparently spoken to Rice. That's what it's down to now, man. We're asking West Ham to try and please do us a favour.
Don't work like that, though, Dan.
It don't work like that, man. It don't work like that. And listen, the West Ham... It'd be nice if it did. The West Ham fan base are absolutely praying that they lose this game because they hate us, man. But do you see any madness, Dan, on this last game of the season, last weekend of the season?
Yeah, look, it's obviously an outside chance that anything could happen, but it's happened before in the Premier League. Like we saw it with United all those years ago, obviously with the Aguero moment coming out of nowhere. We even saw it a couple of years ago with City and Villa, like you were saying, Martin, as well. You just don't know. It's it's the Premier League. Anything can happen, really, to be honest with you. Arsenal just need to focus on themselves. And if West Ham decide to turn up, then fair enough. Honestly, do I see it happening? Probably not. But like we said, West Ham have got a team that could do damage to anyone. Obviously, defensively, that's where I'd worry about them. And as soon as they go 1-0 down, 2-0 down, it's game over for me. I don't see them having any fight or desire to have a comeback. The only reason I see that they might be motivated is 1, the players for their potential friends, and 2, if they feel like they really need to send Moyes out on a high.
Listen, Martin, let's talk about it. Pep Guardiola's leaving in 2025. He will be going 1-1-5. Is going to decide his fate. Blah blah blah. As a Manchester City fan, do you believe any of that? Do you see it as nonsense? Do you know different? Talk to me, man. I think everybody wants Pep to go because they've had enough. That's what it is. They're all praying that Pep Guardiola says, right, that's me, I'm off. Someone else can have a chance now. But I don't know. I think he's pretty happy. He's a madman. He's an absolutely intense football lover. I don't see him going anytime soon, but maybe I'm wrong, bruv. What are you saying?
Pep, I mean, I have heard there is rumours within the club that they do think he will leave 2025, and it won't just be him, it'll be cheeky as well. Nothing to do with 1-1-5. I know that's what everyone's sat praying on, and everything else. It has jack to do with 115. People will get a shock on this 115 by the end. They will get a big shock. It is what it is. But the news we got was Pep will decide in the summer. He'll sit down with his family. Pep always decides late. Pep never extends his contract early on. He's always been last minute. He's always been last minute. Everywhere he's been, he renews late on. If he does leave, I don't think we'll do a Klopp. Don't think we'll announce it mid-season unless we have to. And also, I do think, listen, I'm not stupid. You know, City will go down. Not down as in out of it. They'll still challenge for titles. We won titles before Pep came along. You know, that's another thing people forget. We were winning doubles before Pep came along. It is Pep Guardiola that wins you the trebles and everything else, but we were winning trophies beforehand because it's the institution of Manchester City that is, for me, the best run club in the world, top to bottom.
Yeah.
So we will have a plan in place, and it won't necessarily just be a big name either. That big name does not suit our models, etc. Won't use the word project because it ain't a project. It's the model which way they want to go. So we'll see. But I do think these summer signings we do will have a massive indication on what will happen with Pep.
Bruno Guimaraes and Paqueta, both to City, do you reckon?
Paqueta's doubtful till the FA get the clearance. City will not touch him until the FA clear him, which at the moment is still currently the FA is still within their timeline. Because obviously when they charge him, the FA have a timeline or have a time that they can look into it. I think it's 12 months. And he wasn't charged till, I think, July last year. So they've got a year so they can go through it. So I doubt that happens. But there is talk of Danny Olmo being the backup for Paqueta. Bruno, I heard, has agreed personal terms.
Wow.
What it's worth. And it's just now in making the decision whether he wants to leave Newcastle. But there's 3 clubs in. There's PSG, City. I don't think Arsenal are one anymore. It looks like you've moved to a João Neves, which I actually rate massively as a player. But again, it's the release clause. I think the problem is what I've read and I think I've told you is it's the release date of Bruno's contract. It's only that month. It's that 4-week period. And I don't know where Arsenal fall in the FFP because I watched other shows talking about 80 million quid. No one's getting Bruno for 80 million quid. It's 100 million and that's it.
I agree.
That's it. They're not taking 80 million quid. It is 100 million because that's his release clause.
No, I agree.
And I don't know whether that. I do want to make a point about this Farmers League comment. That is the biggest load of bullshit that is walking in the face of football because I'm not sure if it's an age thing. I'm not sure if it's recency stuff. I don't know. But I'll just go through a little list because I do come prepared to these now because I get Farmers Bloody League every single time we do it. But the Premier League started 1993, Man United won it. 1994, Man United won it. 1995, Blackburn won it. So United had a year off, but they were still, that went to the last day. If you remember, they drew at West Ham. Yeah. Blackburn got beat at Anfield. 1996, United won it. 1997, United won it. So there's 4 out the first 5. All Man United. No one mentioned Farmers League about them. 1998, Arsenal went into the Arsenal side. Then from 99 to 2001, United won it 3 on the bounce. That was their first of 3 on the bounce. So now we're at 3, 6, 7, 8. So out of the first 9, United won 7 of them. But it wasn't a Farmers League. Now we're at 2002, back to Arsenal. 2003, jumped into United. Now United had a year off then for 3 years. It went to Arsenal and Chelsea twice. And then lo and behold, 7, 8, and 9 jumped right straight back to United again, and they had 3 on another treble on the bounce. Then we went to 2-10, then we went to 11, and that was United again. So in the first 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, United won 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 out of the first 20, United won.
Do you know what it is, Martin?
And by the way, none of them were close. There was a lot of them, they won by about 10 points and 15 points.
And you know what I'd say, Martin, as well? I agree with you. I don't believe in this Farmers League narrative. But I think there's a lot of simpletons. The reason why they're saying this is because you're about to do what's never been done.
You know what it is, Rob?
Copium. That's why I think they're saying it. I don't agree with it, but I think that's why they're saying it.
It's copium.
Yeah. You could
Sorry,
say
I'm going to say it as it is. Dan knows I say it as it is. It's copium. And it's another stick to hit City with over the head.
The thing is, mine, what you've just done is you've just provided facts as to why it can't be a Farmers League now.
Because I'm not a kid. I was there back watching it, mate.
Yeah.
It made my childhood
I was
a
the
living hell. Oh, by the way, United had won FA Cups, League Cups, and 2 Champions League in that time as well. So it wasn't just Premier Leagues they were winning. They were winning doubles and come on. They won a treble in that time. What we doing here?
Yeah, mate,
do you think that the Premier League is at the best stage it's ever been at? Like, do you think this is as a whole league, this is the most competitive it's ever been, or do you think there's been other eras?
Right? I think in terms of competitiveness, Dan, yeah. I don't know if it's the best quality it's been, if I'm honest. I know, man, we just talked about how great Man City are and how Arsenal takes the last day. But I think there was perhaps better quality over the years. Maybe people would disagree. But in terms of the competitiveness, absolutely. Like, you know, when we went unbeaten, everyone says, oh, yeah, but it was easy to beat everyone back then. I disagree it was easy because that's why no one's done it again. But I can understand the argument because the playing level, the Wolves were not the Wolves are now. And the Portsmouth were of then and some of the other clubs, Middlesbroughs and all that, you could lose to nowadays because they're like the Brentfords away, which is always hard, or West Ham a lot better than they used to be. Do you know what I mean? So I think some of the quality's improved, but I don't think it's at that level. But I do think that over the last maybe decade, there was a lot of quality. And I think
there definitely wasn't a top 6 back then, was there? That's for sure.
Absolutely. But listen, the England squad sums up the level of quality drop, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying England have got a poor squad because it's one of the best it's been at, right? But let's just take the strikers, for example. You've got Harry Kane, you've got Ivan Toney, you've got Ollie Watkins, you can throw in Solanke, and then you kind of start to dry up, right? But look at the quality back then like Robbie Fowler and Ian Wright and Andy Cole couldn't get anywhere near it because of Shearer and Sheringham. Yeah, that wasn't even looking at the likes of Matt Letizia. That wasn't then go a few years later and then the Rooneys and Owens come in. And then, do you know what I'm saying? There was and then the Defoes and the Crouchies. You keep going. Like in England now, it's like you get 3 or 4 and then you dry up. And it's like, where's it all gone?
Even like, what's the West Ham striker as well? He was like on fire for a bit as well and then got a really bad injury. He couldn't got in. That's it. Got in a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, Andy Johnson was putting up numbers as well, wasn't he? So
yeah, it's mad.
I always remember that cup final with Dean Ashton, the one with Liverpool.
Yeah.
No fact.
When we played at Millennium Stadium. Yeah, that little.
You know what, Dad? I think you're spot on. I think it's more competitive now, but in terms of quality, especially player quality, there's been a big drop off. Like even the term, we've had this debate many times. The term world class, it just gets thrown around easy. But when you actually compare it to 20 years ago, the golfing class is crazy.
Well, you know where the Farmers League falls down for me as well? Like I said, back then, United were winning the league by 10, 15 points some years. The leagues are being won. Yes, people are going about points total, but people are winning titles by 1 point, or they're losing titles by 1 point. So how is that not competitive?
Martin, not even just that. I know they're going to throw the love rivalry thing again, but it's alien to have 2 teams that surpass 90 points, and you're saying it's not competitive. It's crazy.
But what Aston Villa doing for it's not competitive. I don't understand this. There's, these people talk about this getting relegated. This is the first time in about 5 years that the 3 promoted clubs have gone down. Brentford never went down. Bournemouth never went down.
Forest as well.
Forest never went down. They got, they could go. This is not. And people don't like this, but it's a fact. It's Manchester City hate that is cooking all this because people don't like hearing the truth. I understand that. I get it. But it's a madness. People's hate and bitterness are literally clouding their facts. They're clouding facts. Because this is not made up stuff. You can go back and check all this. It's not made up.
Do you know why you're spot on with coping that? Because I'm one of the rare Liverpool fans. I never mention 115. I know I just did there, for example, but I never mentioned 115. I never say, oh, we didn't win anything because of this City team stopping us. No, it was our own wrongdoing. We drew so many games in the earlier part of the season in title races with you. If we did better, we win the league, especially the leagues we lost by a point. It's nothing to do with City. Yes, City are competitors, but I always look at my own club before I start using an excuse with other club. And I think, Dan, you'll say the same. If you beat Aston Villa, you go into the final day on top. You win the league. So I'm fed up of these lazy excuses. Oh, we can't beat City. They're cheaters. 115. No. Look at your own club. Look at your own club, what your club could have done. That's why when I have my fan base saying, oh, but they're cheaters, they do this, that, this, that, and other, I'm like, no. What about that game we drew there? I remember there was a title race, our last title race with you, Martin. We drew 1-1 at Anfield to Spurs. They should have actually won the game, but we drew 1-1 at Anfield to Spurs. Fine margins. We win that game, we win the league. I remember the title race before that, we drew away at Everton United. All of our rivals that season, I think Harry Maguire at Leicester scored a goal against us at Anfield as well. We drew so many games. So you've got to look at your own club before you start to say, I think just to say City, it's just lazy and it's easy and you're just making excuses. You need to look at your own club. I hate this lazy narrative. It's just Pep because people say no one can stop Pep, but we've seen it once with I know it's our only one, but we've seen it once. We've done it. I'm not going to mention the Conte thing because you didn't have your team and it was his first season and it was his first year in England, and you saw what happened when he has his team. He's pretty much run 6 out of the next 7. But you can stop him. You just have to improve your own team. It's not impossible. Very tough, but it's not impossible.
What do you make of this comment? I'm going to bring Dan in a minute, but Martin, what do you make of this? Super chat from Enigma says, the problem is nobody hates City enough to put up a fight. Villa, Fulham, Wolves all roll over for them. The Premier League needs saving from 115 hostage. Go on, man. Go on. I'll be interested to know what you think of these sort of comments.
This is what makes me laugh. And people are doing in the comments now. We don't care about City. They're irrelevant. But you can't keep our club's name out of your damn mouths. If you don't care about us, stop talking about us. Simple as it's a lot. This 115 BS, people don't understand it because the media have done a piss poor job to explain it. They've done a piss poor job, and I mean the mainstream media here, from Sky to Talk Shit, everything. They've not done a good enough job to explain it all. They really haven't, because I see so many fans telling me, well, Everton and Forest got done. Very separate case. Forest and, to put it in a criminal light, Forest and Everton have been accused of shoplifting. City have been accused of 3 counts of first-degree murder. That's the level of difference here. We've not overspent on a few. This is what City have been accused of is perjury and fraud. What the Premier League are saying is that Deloitte, KPMG, one of the world's biggest accountants out there and auditors, have all been part of this huge conspiracy theory. And here's a question. I bet no one in the chat or anyone here has probably read the 93-page cast document that came out. And I don't expect anybody to.
That's why I don't speak on it. I don't speak on things I don't know.
I have read it. And on page 78 of the cast case, it was proved by a majority vote that Etisalat, ADUG, which is Abu Dhabi United Group, and Etihad were not of third-party related sponsorships. Proved. And in that case, they will have had to get all these so-called emails and etc. would have all been shown. And you know what it is, Dan? It's copium. I've said it. It is just copium. And whether people like it or not, you're innocent until proven guilty in the UK. You're not guilty. I've never read that the laws changed so much to guilty until I've never heard it so much in my life. But people now want to change law around and change everything else and put everything on its head. And all City have done is they said, the Premier League gone, we're accusing you of this. And City have gone, we haven't done it. Right, okay then. We will go through it all.
And what do you think?
But because they've charged us with so much stuff, Dan, it takes this long.
Yeah.
Because the way books work is they basically said to us, you've got 1 year of your, we think you've been a bit naughty on one of your years of your accounting. So what they've done is they've gone back and said, well, if you've been naughty on that year, you've been naughty on the previous 8 years. And they've gone all the way back. That's what it is. But people just don't, you know, there is one club who has actually failed FFP, but you never hear about it.
United.
And was proven. Man United.
Yeah. See, let me answer this super chat. Big up, Enigma, and I appreciate the super chat, man. But let me come back at you here, right? So he's put, yes, it's hate. I hate City. They colonised the league by washing money. Martin waffling, and no one on the panel was pushing back, scared to be called a hater. It's not scared to be called a hater. I don't know enough about 115 to sit there and say that Manchester City deserve to be stripped of their trophies and put down into League Two to play Dagenham and Redbridge. That to me,
that is a huge accusation he's making there.
Go on.
Washing money, so he's basically saying money laundering, etc., etc. Now, I'm not going to go down that because I don't want to get your channel into trouble.
No, yeah, I get it.
This is what I mean. People need to be careful on language they're using here. They need to be very, very careful because it's very silly what people are doing. This will end up, and people can disagree with me all you want, is I've spoke to lawyers about this. Nobbins is a lawyer.
Big up Nobbins.
Nobbins is a lawyer. Stefan, who's done a lot of this, has talked about this, and he's a financial top guy. He's not some person on Twitter who pretends to be a lawyer. Some 12-year-old sat in their bedroom going, oh, I think I know law, because they've got their law degree out of a Kinder egg. Sorry. It's absolute garbage. You can't go making massive accusations about people without evidence. And the Premier League at the minute, we don't know. We will see at the end.
Yeah, we will.
Listen, I understand. I'm a City fan. I'm not like, I'll get all this shit because I'm a City fan. I get it on every stream. We get it. We understand it. But everyone is going to hate what you can't beat. I understand that. Deal with it.
Have you noticed as well, Martin? Dan would be more qualified to speak on this than me. But there's a common denominator here. It's only really Liverpool, Arsenal, and United fans that really scream 115. It's not really Chelsea and Spurs, off my knowledge. Arsenal because they're now competing with you. Us because we compete with you. And United because they're your next door neighbours and your rivals. There's a common denominator in this. But you're right. If you just have to start hating what you can't achieve.
United are actually the worst for it, man.
By the way, they can thank you spot on. It's the wording of the way people have got to put things. If you say allegedly, allegation-wise, you can't just go out and accuse someone. If I came in here and went, Dan, you've done this, and I've got no evidence, you can take me to a court if you want to do that. Well, people don't understand.
The thing is, mine. I don't speak for everyone, right? But the way I see
it, I know your facts.
For me, I look at it and I think, if Manchester City have done wrong, and it's been proven that they've done wrong,
then we'll get punished. And
there should be a punishment. Exactly.
when have you heard me say, Dan, if we get done, I won't say it. When have I said I'd defend them? I'm defending my club right now and what we know, and because right now we don't know.
Martin, do you know what it is as well, right? If you were to be proven guilty, I feel sorry for the likes of yourself, Daps, Nobbins, LB, because you lot haven't had anything to do with this. You just support the club. It's not like you've committed any of this. But the way modern football is, you're going to get the backlash because you support the club. It's like, Martin, I always get slapped for something my fan base said. No, ask me if I personally said it, but it's just the way football is.
Me, LB, Nobbins, Big Steve, we put our faces on these platforms. So, we are, because we're going to get it. We know that. We're not stupid. That's why it's easy to sit in chats or Twitter or whatever and click away and off you go. And then it's people, but we're the ones who are on the front line and we take it. And this is why some City fans would love Manchester City to come out and say a little something sometimes. But what's been happened is Khaldoon Al-Mubarak said we have irrefutable evidence that we are innocent. That's strong language to use, irrefutable evidence. We are completely innocent. We had Galasso, whatever his name was, one of our directors, was asked about the case, and he said, supremely confident. There are even rumours of the case has actually already been heard. Now, I don't know if that's true. Those are the rumours. It's all been heard. And the Premier League and City don't know how to all get out of this in a good way. Because the thing is, it's not about the Premier League. It's not about City to prove innocence. It's up to the Premier League to prove guilt. That's the difference here.
Well, listen, we're going to find out, they believe, at some stage. Autumn is the next thing. We'll see what happens after autumn. I'm sure it will take a while, but let's see. Let's move back to what's happening on the pitch. Dan, let me ask you a question about Arsenal. I'm always interested to get some rivalries. Before we move to your clubs, lastly, I want to talk about Mikel Arteta because there's a lot of people that have said that if he doesn't win something this year, he needs to go. We need to get a proven winner in. Is there an argument to say that this season, although it has potentially going to be finishing trophyless, that he's shown enough progress to be given another year to try and get this team across the line? Or do you think that that's just no point? It's never going to happen and we need to move on. Where are you at as a Chelsea fan, bro?
Look, if Arsenal sacked Arteta at the end of the season and they basically said one FA Cup in the amount of years that you've been at the club isn't good enough, I would probably be surprised, but I would understand it as well because Arsenal are obviously putting together a squad that they want to win trophies with. And as of yet, Arteta probably hasn't done that with the squad he's assembling. However, what you're doing and how you're playing and how you're competing against this City side, it would suggest to me that the right thing to do would be to keep Arteta. I think you really have to look at it as a club and decide what you really want. Do you want to be competitive for the next 10 years, 5-10 years, something like that? And Arteta leaves you in a good place? Or do you want to be with whatever he wins, by the way? Or do you make a sort of a rash decision now to go for a winner that might win you a Champions League? A Premier League's tough. I'm not sure you can come in and just win a Premier League in one season now. I don't know if that's possible to do. Like we've sort of seen Conte do before, or Ancelotti, managers like that in years gone by. I'm trying to think of a few others maybe. You never know, right? And if he does, then fair play to him. It'll be absolutely exceptional. But for me, I'd be really shocked if Arsenal were to get rid of Arteta. I think they're one of the scariest sides in the Premier League at the moment. They're definitely a team I wouldn't want to play again after what happened. And I'm not the only fan that's going to be saying that. They're a different Arsenal to what they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Even when Arteta got the job, they're completely different. The squad you've assembled is easily one of the best in the Premier League and one of the best in Europe. It needs a few additions. I'd definitely back the manager right now because... And I'd probably give them a little bit more control. I think what we've seen is the clubs that are giving their managers a little bit more control over assembling a squad and the day-to-day running of a club, they're kind of reaping the rewards. Like Pep is involved in absolutely everything. And we've seen it in other countries as well, where people are sort of involved in the day-to-day running of the clubs. And it's kind of something that's gone away from a lot of football clubs. But I feel like Arteta is someone I would trust to have a little bit more input on that side of things. And I feel like he's got a good working relationship with, is it Edu as well?
Yeah.
Why would you? I just don't see that relationship's broken down enough. The players are still fighting for Arteta. There's ultimately nothing here to suggest to me, bar obviously being trophyless, that would mean that you don't win, that you don't keep him on as a manager. But it's hard. It's a hard decision to make in terms of what do you value more? Do you value progress consistently over a certain amount of years, or would you rather just take an FA Cup or maybe a Champions League, but then just don't win anything else for 5 years?
You say the P word in front of Arsenal fans.
What did
I
say?
Progress. I think this is the thing. People have said, and this is actually a good question for you, Dan, because as a Chelsea fan under Roman, let's just say best part of 2 decades, bloody had pretty much best part of in 20 years, best part of 20 managers, but he had 20 trophies, so this is the question you've got. Do you stick with it and see how long it goes and have the same manager for a period of time to try and win those couple of trophies? Or do you just go elite manager trophy, another elite manager trophy, another elite manager trophy? And that's the way you've got to be looking at it, because Pep Guardiola is the only one that guarantees you trophies successfully. Nobody, and he could be gone. So this is the problem. Like, a lot of people have said to me, "You're Arteta out, Dan. Who do you want then?" It's not about being in or out. It's about how can Arsenal win a trophy for me. Now, it might be that Arteta does that. If Arteta's not the guy, it is Arsenal Football Club, not Arteta Football Club. So it's okay. And if 2 or 3 years' time he's not our manager, we're not all going to fold the club and then everyone give up. Like, we're going to try again with somebody else, whether it's Carlo Ancelotti, whether it's Simone Inzaghi, whether it's Hansi Flick. I don't know who the next manager of Arsenal will be. And I hope Mikel Arteta stays here and is successful. That's what I want to happen. He's going to stay. He's going to sign a new deal. He's staying here, whatever. But Roms, I ask you, I think you said it earlier, if we finish trophyless this season and then trophyless the following season, is that acceptable for Arsenal in a 5-year project under Mikel Arteta, who would at the time probably spent close to £1 billion?
So exactly. For me, you'll know the figures. What has he roughly spent at this point? I think it's between 650 and 700.
He's actually spent 590 million. Close to 600 million is basically what he spent, right? So it's half $1 billion, basically.
So let's say by the end of next season, it would be in and around the 7. You're probably going to spend about 100 mil, a bit more. It'll be in around the 700 million mark, right? Last season, again, a lot of us fans that I'm not saying make excuses, but there's this narrative: if Saliba didn't get injured, we would have beat City to it, whatnot. Let's say you had a key injury there. This season, you've pretty much had your strongest 11 pretty much throughout the season, and you've taken it to the last day. I think your points tally's even improved. Next season now, and I believe you're a few signings away, and I do think you'll get that out-and-out 9, because I think Gabriel Jesus, as a footballer, excellent, but Martin will even tell you he's mainly deployed on the right for City. He's not a goal scorer, and I said even when Arsenal signed him, and all the fan base were like, "Oh, we're signing this amazing player." Good footballer, but he's not going to get you 20-plus league goals to win you the league. Havertz has done very well. Do I still think you can win a league? I know this sounds alien because you've brought it to the last day, but do I still think you can win a league with him as your main 9? No, there's a reason why you played him in midfield, didn't work, and you've had to makeshift him. I just think you're that number 9 and probably DM away from potentially getting over the line. I don't know what's going to happen with Partey.
Giving them, Rob, that summer window to get that 9 and that 8.
Yeah. I think he warrants one more year. Because Dan, if you asked me this 6 months ago, I would have said, you know what? You might have to cut your losses at the end of the season, but your opinions can change. I've seen how you've progressed, and I banter a lot of Arsenal fans, but I think he warrants one more year. But and for me, even an FA Cup or Carabao wouldn't be enough. If he doesn't win one of the big 2, just personally, in my opinion, by the end of next season, I think you have to move on, because it's like, how much more does he spend now? Like, would you even agree as an Arsenal fan? You've pretty much got that 11. I wouldn't say squad, because I think there's a lot of players on your squad, and I think you agree that you could sell. But I think by the time this summer window finishes, you should have the 11 and the squad. I think you pretty much have the 11, but the squad to go for that league. I think if it doesn't happen next year, I would be asking questions. It's my opinion.
I think we've got maybe 8 out of the 11 that are guaranteed. I think left back, left 8, and number 9 are the 3 positions that you can debate.
Yeah.
So I think once them 3 positions are sorted, I don't think we've got much more of an excuse. And those 3 that are coming in then replace some of the crap on the bench, like Eddie, Nelson, those type of players, right? So I don't think we've got an excuse there. A couple of super chats I want to throw to you, Martin. One of them's actually Arsenal related, which I'll do in a minute. This is actually another City one, I think. Now City are trying to silence. What is this? Hang on, I should read these before I flick them up here. Silencing speech. They won't be found guilty. FFP already is trying to drop charges secretly. It walks like a dog. Do you know what? We're going to move on from City. Unless you want to say.
By the way, I've never said silence. I've said be careful on the wording. I'm doing it also to protect Dan and his channel.
No, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Enigma,
I know that sounds crazy to people, but that's actually a real thing in live. You know, I don't. You can't just go on YouTube and say whatever you fancy without, you know, you got to word it in a certain way.
No, I love that, man. Love that. But this one, Martin, I'll throw to you. George Gooner says, we've been literally progressing every single year. The team's getting stronger every single year. The first time we meant to compete, we took it to the wire. Absolute madness if we sack him now. Thoughts,
yeah,
Martin?
which comes back to my not a Farmers League argument. That's my whole point. You pushed us in the same way Liverpool have. The thing is, the mad thing with Arsenal is, it's not because we both won 27 games. It's the losses that are the problem. And I go back to years ago when Ferguson made a very, very, I can't remember exactly the wording of it, but he basically came along the line of, you can't lose 5 or 6 games and expect to win the Premier League. Said it in like the late 90s. And Arsenal have lost 5 games. City have only lost 3. That's the fine margins we're playing with here. And the biggest thing with Arsenal, listen, Arsenal are not far away. Arsenal have been superb this season. Absolutely superb. But one thing I would say City have over Arsenal is we have individual world-class brilliance that can get us out of a sticky game. So you look at Palace, for example. We're 1-0 down in 3 minutes and shit, everyone's losing their mind. And then KDB pops one in top bins from, 25 yards out at an acute angle. That's what those players do. Haaland can be having an absolute bagshit game for 85 minutes. And then from 85 to 92, bags that trick and wins you the game. That's the difference here. I look at Arsenal. Declan Rice is a world-class player. Is he a game-changing player? No. There's a difference between game-changing and because Declan Rice is not going to come in, take 2 or 3 people on and put them in top bins and win you 1-0 in a tight 0-0.
Really? You don't think he's capable of that?
Pardon?
You don't think he's capable of that, Rice?
No.
That's big words. I'm not sure. I would say Declan Rice would get any team in the Premier League.
You tell me when he's done that ever.
Declan Rice has scored some big goals. I literally remember one for him in the FA Cup for West Ham. He ran half the length of the pitch and absolutely smashed it into the roof of the net. Like, Declan Rice has got that in his locker.
But you're giving me one. I can
well,
name
you asked for one.
No, I can name you 30 out KDB's done.
I'm not comparing KDB to Declan Rice in terms of what they're both capable of.
That's what I am doing.
But Declan Rice has scored some big goals for Arsenal this season and has scored big goals for West Ham as well. I don't know whether that's too far. I'm not sure.
I don't. I'll be honest, in my opinion, I don't think Declan Rice can win you a game on his own. KDB can.
Right. Okay. Interesting. You're entitled to your opinion, but I think that's strong.
The difference is, look at Haaland. Haaland can win you a game. This is why
I'm not comparing Declan Rice to Kevin De Bruyne at all. I'm just saying. I think by you saying Declan Rice can't win a game.
In context, I'm using it as a general thing.
You know what, Martin? Do you know what, Martin? There's two games that stick out. I think I understand what you're saying because Rice has won. He scored Luton late and he scored against United. Was it United quite late? So Rice has actually won games for Arsenal this season. However, in the pressured moments and the running, when it matters, this is where I agree with Martin. I think Rice can win a game early October, September, etc. But when it matters in a running, and to be fair, it's not his job to, but it's that extra bonus. If you can, it'll mean a world of good.
Rodri's not meant to, but he's got 22 GA this season. Gundogan wasn't meant to do. Was coming in clutch. You look at the running. That's what I mean. I'm not talking about Declan Rice as a Declan Rice for me is world class. Is he a game winner? No, not in my opinion.
I think where you're
actually
going,
not true, though, is it?
Where I agree, I actually agree kind of with both, because what Dan's saying is true. Declan Rice has been phenomenal for us this season. He has won us games. Where I will agree with Martin, and I think Roms will probably agree with me actually as Liverpool. I think Liverpool have got more world-class players and Man City than Arsenal have. So, for example, I think Trent, I think Van Dijk, I think Salah, I think Alisson are all world-class players. Yeah. I don't think that Arsenal have got a world-class players yet, because we're just starting on our journey. Average age, most of our top players are under 24 years old. Yeah. Or 25 years old. So you might look at Rice or Odegaard and think they're world-class. I think that they still have far in their journey to go to be that level, and Saka's one of those as well. Saliba has just started his journey, so you might. And again, we're talking about definition earlier. It was elite. Now we're looking at world class. Everyone's got different opinions of that, but I think you're right. Salah can win a game on his own. You've got Martin, who's mentioned KDB. Foden's kind of been that this season as well.
That's my point.
If I'm honest. Yeah. So I think that's where you're at, and I think that could be the kind of next level. But listen, it's been a good season, and I hope that we have a good summer. Unfortunately, I think Manchester City will have a very good summer as well. So it's going to be difficult, man. It's going to be difficult. Big up to Pete, by the way. I know that you've jumped on for the last few. Thank you for that, man. Big up to you, my bro. No, always a pleasure. Let me quickly ask a couple of questions. We are running out of time, but let me quickly bring Roms and Dan in. On Liverpool Chelsea. Just quickly, Roms, Liverpool. I had this argument, a couple of Liverpool fans had it with Drifty earlier. I think Liverpool should be going for a title challenge this coming season, right? And some people are disagreeing with me. Nah, top four will be still a good season. I don't think it would be. Liverpool don't try and get into the top four, in my opinion. Liverpool have got a good enough side there, good enough squad there, with a transfer window as well on top of that. You get your left back in, you get your centre back in, you get your DM, and then maybe you go for another attacking-minded player if Diaz or one other goes. And I think you go and do a title. And I know Arne Slot is not... I'm not saying Liverpool need to win the title if you don't Arne Slot goes, but I think that's where Liverpool should be going, man. And none of this top four nonsense for me.
Do you know what it is, Dan? Yeah, the comments have to listen to my words carefully. I feel we should go for the title because we still got the nucleus. I think Salah actually leaves. I know it's come out recently that he said he wants to stay, but things change. And I think the more Saudi bid, I think his mind can be swayed. I think Salah actually does leave. But you still got your nucleus of Van Dijk, Robertson, Alisson, Trent. And look, we can't replace Salah with another Salah. It's not out there. But we're going to have to bring in someone that has relatively decent output. It won't be his, obviously. But we still have the nucleus to go for the league. So my personal expectation is to still challenge City and Arsenal. However, do I think we will? No, because with losing Klopp, you're going to have that natural drop-off. Whether rival fans like it or even we like it, we're going to, whether you like it, you don't love it, but whether our fan base like it, you're going to have that natural drop-off. So my expectation is to go for the league, but just because the main common denominator is that we've got a different manager, I think we'll fall third. Because even though we'll finish third this year, I don't think it will be a third where we're in and around Arsenal and City. I think it will be a third where we're competing with the likes of a Chelsea, a Newcastle, a Villa. I think we'll be nearer them. So I think there'll be a drop-off. But to answer your question, do I think we should be going for the title? 100%. We still got world-class players to do it. I don't think the standard should drop, but I think we naturally would drop next season. But yeah, I think any Liverpool fan is just accepting third or fourth, knowing the players we still have at our disposal. That's crazy to me. That's crazy. We should still be going for the league, irrespective of the manager. But I've kind of come back down to earth and it not accepted, but my prediction is we will drop off next season from title race to comfortable top four, in my opinion.
Listen, you could be right. It could be a comfortable top four. I just feel like with the right signings, maybe, and I'm not saying these, you might not want these names, but you go in and you get like a Paulinho to sort your midfield out or somebody like that. You go and get a centre half that can partner Konaté in the future, but obviously allow Van Dijk some rotation. You look to go and sort of left back out like maybe Anthony Robinson, somebody like that. And then you go forward with somebody to actually allow you to bring in some quality. I think Liverpool have got a good chance of going for a title again. I don't think you will win it. But
yeah, one last thing I'll add on, where we actually the silver lining in all of this is Michael Edwards. And I know some Real fans go to us, he doesn't play on the pitch for you lot, but he overrid a lot of Klopp signings. Klopp didn't originally want Salah and Mane. He wanted Julian Brandt and Draxler at the time. Edwards said, no, have these players. And then obviously Klopp worked his magic with the players at his disposal. But with Michael Edwards coming in, he's rarely got a signing wrong for us. Rarely. So we do trust his recruitment. And hopefully Arne Slot can, because I think he's CEO now. He's even got he's got a bigger role than what he had prior to us. So I think that's where we do have a glimmer of hope. We've got trust in Michael Edwards, but Arne Slot, he's an unknown entity, because you're going to tell me he's won an Eredivisie, but so did Ten Hag, and you see what's happened over at United. So I'm not hanging my hat on Arne Slot.
The only thing about that, though, Roms, that I will say is that the people who compare him to Ten Hag, Liverpool is a completely different structure to Manchester United.
Yeah. Our structure's already there. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's not going to come in and go and buy the Antonys for 90 million and then try and play under a structure. Ain't got a clue, right? So you don't need to do any of that. So I don't think it will be. Dan, let me bring you in quick, man. So I want to get Chelsea quickly. Pochettino, if you get European football, and I know there's a lot of twists and turns in this, because the FA Cup, if Man United do a madness, which I don't think they will, could completely change Europe, and the actual European places could actually be messed up if Manchester United win the FA Cup.
You're reaching
there.
Dan.
I don't care. I honestly doesn't bother me at all, right? I don't think Man United got absolute hope in hell. But you've got to speak about the facts that it can happen, right? But Chelsea, to be fair, a mess. But Pochettino has seemed to get them into a potential European position. Now, when you spend that much money, you can't say that's an amazing season. But from where you were to where you're ending, is there some positives, Dan?
Oh, yeah, definite positives. I think I touched on it a little bit earlier, but from where we've got to sort of post-January is incredible. I just didn't see that coming. I think you're spot on calling it a mess, because I think that's what it's been for such a long time under Todd Bowley. I think the mess started to get cleared up a little bit in January, where we didn't bring in anyone really, and we let a couple of players go out on loan and just kind of simplify things a little bit with Poch, and simplified things in terms of his injuries as well, that these players were going to be out for long periods of time and he couldn't rely on having them back for 1 or 2 weeks. It was better to just send them out for surgery or as much as they needed to recover. And ultimately, he's kind of reaped the rewards of just simplifying things down a little bit. I think the club have as well. The fact that they could get European football is still really, really like a big achievement for me, considering where they were at the halfway stage of the season. The issue I really have, though, is that Chelsea Football Club shouldn't be looking at the Conference League as a success. And I think a lot of the fans are sort of looking at it as a successful season, where I think actually it would be the final sort of run-in's been okay and good enough to allow us to climb up the table. The issue with getting the Conference League, of course, is that if that's how you're trying to get into Europe, you've got to win a qualifier as well. And it's just more hassle than it's worth, to be honest with you, in some ways. But I do think it would be good for this Chelsea side to get some European experience. But yeah, it is what it is.
Watch days now, whatever. Is it?
Yeah, my camera's just gone, but I'm here. I think so. To be honest with you, I think if he's able to get us European football, and the way it's kind of finished, I feel like it's the most sensible thing to do. I think stability is something that is well needed at Chelsea Football Club, more so now than ever before. I know we didn't have it under Roman, but we had stability in the playing squad. I feel like now there's no stability in terms of the playing squad, in terms of the club itself. We've got more people in the back room leaving as well. We've got a board who doesn't seem to show much stability as well. So I think somewhere that's something Chelsea need. And right now, if I look at the market of managers that are available, there's a couple of names, but are they the right fit for Chelsea right now? I'm not sure. I think another season, or at least half a season under Pochettino, to judge where he's at would probably be more beneficial. Do I think he's the man in the long term for Chelsea to win trophies and bring back the success? No, I don't. I'm not going to lie about that. But I do think stability is probably more needed than trying the project all over again.
No, listen, I agree with that. And if Cole Palmer keeps going, mate, you got a baller there, bruv. Absolute baller. So let's see what happens. Pete, I'm going to chuck some questions at you before we end, because we do need to end soon. I'm not going to throw loads of questions at you, but I do want to touch on the Ramsdale and the Bruno situation, because it looks like they're the two names that people are looking at in terms of incomings and outgoings. Not that you're definitely signing Ramsdale, and not that you're definitely selling Bruno, but I'd like to get your opinions on those two. And then, of course, last game of the season, mate, I was disappointed against Manchester United for you, but I don't know what that's done to your hopes now, man. So talk to me.
I'll start with the Man U game first. Yeah, massively deflated. I'm not going to lie. I was already partly deflated by the fact that we didn't beat Brighton at the weekend. Everything was set to win that game and almost kind of guarantee European football in some way, shape, or form. It didn't happen, but I was still more than confident of going into the game at Old Trafford and getting the win. And yeah, really disappointed. I don't particularly think Man United played well. I just, people can argue that we didn't take our chances, but that was a game where we needed to step up. In the big games, you needed the team to step up, and we didn't look like our normal selves, like right from the beginning. We just allowed them to get back in the game. So really, really frustrated. But at the end of the day, it's still in our hands. We go and win at Brentford on Sunday, and we get at least 7th place. And I'm with you guys. I'm with Martin. Like, Man United got no chance of winning the FA Cup. No chance. Man City will win comfortably. So for me, I've got my eyes set on that 7th place, getting Europa Conference League, which I'd be more than happy with. Dan, I've said it on our show all season. Like, back-to-back European seasons for Newcastle United is exactly what we need to build and grow, and do what we need to do. So that'll be really, really key for us to do it. But we've made it hard for ourselves. That's for sure. Now, Aaron Ramsdale, we've gone back and forth on this, Dan, over the course of the season, mostly in our chat. Like, for me, I don't see too much difference between Ramsdale and Pope. Some people say that Ramsdale's better. I personally think Pope's better, but that's just my opinion. There has to be a reason why, if he's going to bring Aaron Ramsdale in, that he's coming in. And for me, if he's going to come in from Arsenal, he's coming in as first choice. Now, there's history there because he bought him for Bournemouth from Sheffield United, so there is history there. And so for me, it's the one where I'm kind of just watching it with a close eye, because as Newcastle fans, any Newcastle fan will tell you, we want Mamardashvili. If we're going to get a goalkeeper, we want Mamardashvili from Valencia. Newcastle have been extensively scouting him. I think Valencia have just missed out on European football, which could help us. They've got financial difficulties as well. He's got the skill set that I think Eddie Howe would want, but Eddie Howe knows Ramsdale. He's worked with him before. He's an English goalkeeper. It kind of just makes sense as an easy kind of sidestep to bring a goalkeeper in of the similar level of Nick Pope. And then we've got Bruno Guimaraes. Look, I don't want him to leave. It'll be a dark day when he leaves, because he's just an absolute, he's idolized by Newcastle United fans. We absolutely love him. But as I've said before, he's the one big player that I'm genuinely worried about leaving. We've gone back and forth on Isak, and I've been adamant he's not going anywhere. Isak is staying, whether it's for you or anybody else. He's got another year at Newcastle United. But Bruno Guimaraes, with that 4-week window, I genuinely think I'm flicking between 50-50 and 75-25, as in he'll leave. Like, that's where I am at the moment with Bruno Guimaraes, because he's a player that should be playing at the top level. He's an elite footballer. And honestly, if he's going to go anywhere, in my opinion, he goes to Man City. I thought PSG was a genuine place for him to go. They've stepped away. For me, Man City seems like the place where he's going to end up. Pep absolutely loves him, and to be fair, he's got
love each other.
Yeah, they do. They do, and we've seen it every time we've played Man City. Pep always, in his press conferences, goes out of his way to talk about Bruno Guimaraes, even if the question's not related.
That's weird. That they both do it with each other. Bruno talks about Pep, and Pep talks about Bruno. It's like they've got a little loving when they talk. I don't get it. Well, I do get it, because I think Pep
realizes he's a quality player. He appreciates him.
Yeah, true.
And he always goes and makes a beeline for him after every game that we play, home or away. Always goes and gives him a hug, and they talk a little bit. So it's been there. The relationship's already there, and they talk about each other positively. It just makes sense for me. If he's going to go anywhere, he goes there. But honestly, it'll be a real sad day. I think that'll be the one that really hurts Newcastle United fans the most. Like, it will bring us a lot of money. Great. We'll be able to rebuild and we will move on. This is what Newcastle United
It'll
will
give
need
you,
to do.
I think, I'm talking about it the other day, because obviously we're, because I get a little bit of info. The Bruno thing's a very intriguing one, because I got told verbally he's kind of agreed personal terms. But when they do all these, we don't really talk, but we do talk via the all this tapping up rule that every single club breaks. Yeah. Even though they're not, like Arsenal were tapping Declan Rice up 12 months before he even walked out of West Ham. They all do it. Yeah. But it's a weird one, because what we got told is Bruno is still conflicted, and it's about the leaving the Newcastle part. There is a confliction there. I think Arsenal could have been in the mix. I think it's because Newcastle, what I got told was they're not accepting a penny less than his release clause. Right. It's like us with Bernardo, it's release clause or bust, and you're not having a penny less. But Pep, that is Pep's number one target is Bruno. That's his number one. Because like I said, I don't think Paqueta happens, only because of the FA charges. So whoever we get, if we get Bruno and another, for me, I'd be happy. But I don't just think it's just money and trophies with Bruno. I think there's a little bit of emotional stuff he's got to get over if he makes. But the trouble is, he's got what? For me, we'll all know about Bruno in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, it'll be quick this one. It will be quick this one.
Won't take long. He's got Copa America. He's in the Copa America squad for Brazil, so he's going to want to go and prepare for that. We as well travel to Australia the next day after the Brentford game, because we've got this tour where we play Tottenham in Australia. It's a money spinner for us. Like we're trying to generate as much money as possible.
Do you think Bruno would go on that? Is Bruno going to go on that?
Well, he's down to go, but there was talk a couple of weeks ago that there might be discussions with the likes of Bruno, potentially Trippier or Wilson if they're in the squad, and one or two others that might be going to the Euros, that there might be a conversation there. So it's not been confirmed. I don't believe Eddie Howe's mentioned anything in his press conference today in relation to that, just that they are literally flying out straight away. I think it might even be the same day, like after the game, they're just flying straight to Australia. So it's not ideal, but that'll be a big tell if he doesn't fly, if he doesn't go with the team. That'll be quite interesting to see. Go on.
Another player, when it comes to Rumourville, especially the start of the window, I take everything with a pinch of salt. Things is for clicks and whatnot. But Gordon to Liverpool for 100 million, there's no real truth in that, is there? There's none. Mate, I thought so. I just thought I'd ask.
In all due respect, I don't think he'll be going back to Liverpool anytime soon. After how he was treated at Everton, I don't think he'll be running to go back there anytime soon. And honestly, he got Player of the Season, quite rightly so, at Newcastle United. And the way he talks about us, I mean, if you've seen the overlap interview, you'll know.
Yeah, like, he loves the club. Yeah.
Like he is the main man at Newcastle United, and he's taking his game onto a completely new level. Like he's invested in us big time. And
do you know what it is though? You know what my fan base do? We signed a player before we even signed them, like Jude, and the list goes on. So already, because he was a boyhood Liverpool fan, they've already made that link. So I just wanted to ask from a Newcastle fan perspective. I never believed that. I just thought, let me get your opinion on it.
That Gordon won't be going anywhere anytime soon. In my
imagine
opinion.
Gordon, Isak, and Bruno all leaving Newcastle, just starting their project.
To be fair, look, if that happens, I'm going into hibernation. I'm going. I'm going to sleep and I'm waking up.
If Paqueta and Bruno go to Man City, I might support Ipswich this season and big up Kieran McKenna, because I tell you, man, the league's done already.
Dan, honestly,
I'll be honest, Dan. I don't think we'll get Paqueta.
I've got a chance. I think you've got a great chance of getting him. I
genuinely
think you'll get him.
we've agreed
It's about
it.
a gambling thing, though,
We've
isn't it?
agreed it. It's till the FA clear him, and this, that we're not going to do. You know what happened with the Tonali situation. It's a difficult one. And I know Paqueta's been trying to give his phone and everything to the FA, but because of this, I think, like I said, I think they've got 12 months. And that's June, July. City ain't going to wait till June and July to get him in. I feel bad for the lad because I think the FA should be moving damn quicker than what they're doing. Shouldn't take them 12 months to sort this out.
Well, you look at how quickly the Italian FA dealt with the Tonali situation. Literally in a matter of a couple of weeks, it was dealt with, done, sanction in place. And then it's only recently, in March, April time, that the FA here have dealt with it. But they've known since the same time as the Italian FA have done. It's an absolute joke.
But it's weird because the Brazilian FA cleared him 3 months ago.
It's mad.
But why can't the English FA? What have the English FA got that the Brazilian FA haven't got? It's mad.
If it does get done, then Paqueta, I think, will go. And Paqueta and Bruno are so close, man. They're literally like best mates, best men at each other's weddings.
We're likely to lose Bernardo as well, Dan.
It looks like Barcelona, is that right? Barcelona?
PSG,
PSG.
Oh, PSG now. Okay, fair enough, man. Fair enough.
PSG are after a mixture between youthful and more experienced players.
If anyone's watched Paqueta and Bruno play together when they were both at Lyon, they play like it's like telepathy. They just know where each other are. Like just watching those two, because we were linked with those two before we got Bruno, and watching those two play was just like, wow, like they are so good together. They, you can tell they're really close friends. So having that at Man City, five in a row,
Man City need. Just Man City could do with that. Listen,
we don't know what
Arsenal
are going to do, because honestly, mate, I know you're wrapping up. You get João Neves, that is a player.
Proper player.
He's class.
He is a pro. I would love João Neves at Sarah. And not because he's better than Bruno. He's 19. And the way I look upon it is because Bruno and Rodri will time out at the same time. So you're going to have to go and replace them both at the same time. João Neves is 19 and he would be he'd be in his prime years when Rodri sort of goes over the hill a little bit. So
why don't you just sign him then, though?
Because he won't be on the market then.
Yeah,
right.
His release clause is 103. Plus, I think we could use the Bernardo thing as a kicker because Bernardo wants to go back to Benfica.
Mate, I would like him as well. Gonna end on this super chat. Big up, Mark. Hope you're well, bruv. Says Dan, I'm selling copium. We're winning the league. My fellow Scotsman is doing a horrible low block. Big up, guys. Martin, great speaking to you yesterday. Big up to Mark, absolute ledge. And thank you so much to all of your super chats, all of your comments, all of your interaction. It's been a really good show. My thanks to Dan, my thanks to Martin, my thanks to Roms, and my thanks to Pete. Make sure you're doing me a favor, people. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. And make sure you go and follow all these guys, man. BDB Dan, Martin on the Mancunian Way, Roms on his Twitter handle right there. And you'll see Roms on all platforms. And, of course, Pete on Loaded Mag, NUFC. We're out of here, people. And I'm only going to say this once. Up the hammers. Laters.